Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know series question. As we continue our series on the principles of the Second Vatican Council, today's Do You Know question is, do you know why Vatican II advocated the principle of respect for regional and local variety? It's important to remember that from the Middle Ages especially, and definitely from the Council of Trent as a response to the Reformation, that the Church, the Universal Church, was essentially seen as traditionally uniform, monolithic if you want. Especially since Trent, uniformity was universally enforced. Primarily, there was to be no variety in any way, shape, or form, with no differences, and no variations whatsoever, no dissent whatsoever, and so on. And all of this was reinforced primarily through the following the directions of the Missal and learning the Catechism, where we were all on the same page with the same language and the same responses, and so on. Vatican II and the participants at the Second Vatican Council, especially in their experience of a world church, bishops coming from all over the world, began to understand and see diversity as a gift, not as a problem. And so as a result, Vatican II began to emphasize the regional and local variety, especially the regional church, the local church, under the headship of a bishop. A bishop who is now understood not as a delegate or as a subordinate of the papacy, but rather as a pastor himself who, through ordination and being commissioned in and through his ordination, was really the spiritual leader of the local church, directing it in as it carried out the mission and ministry of Jesus. This was really a rather important shift in the understanding of the bishop, and I'd like to use a quote from the Second Vatican Council, especially the document from the Constitution on the Church, Lumen Gentium, to express this principle, and it does so very clearly. So this is from number 27 of Lumen Gentium, the Dogmatic Constitution on the Church. It talks about the bishop, and it says, "The pastoral charge, that is, the permanent and daily care of their sheep, is entrusted to them fully, nor are they to be regarded as vicars of the Roman pontiff, for they exercise a power which they possess in their own right, and are most truly said to be at the head of the people whom they govern." So in other words, the bishop is the leader of the local church. As a matter of fact, Vatican II made provisions for regional variety. And as a result, it understood the universal church as a communion of churches made up of union among the various regional and local churches, so that a diocesan local church is the full expression of the church in that particular region, and so on. So Vatican II recognized very clearly that the church has to, diversity has to be a legitimate expression of the church, and that this is a rich gift that we are all given, and not trouble, not trouble that to be experienced. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to quote from the Gaudium et Spes, which is the pastoral constitution on the church in the modern world, in which it advocates, has Vatican II advocating respect for regional and local variety, especially articulating the Word of God in and through the local culture, and so on. So this is from Gaudium et Spes, number 44, where it articulates that indeed, this kind of adaptation and preaching of the revealed Word must ever be the law of all evangelization. In this way, it is possible to create in every country the possibility of expressing the message of Christ in suitable terms, and to foster vital contact and exchange between the church and different cultures. So in other words, what Vatican II is advocating is a constant dialogue that needs to be going on between the teachings of the Church and the way they're expressed in the local region and in and through the local culture. Today we know very clearly there's a great deal of differences in the Catholic Church in the world. The African Church is different than the American Church, than the Asian Church, than the Native American Church, and so on. Each expresses their own lived faith in and through the various symbols and culture of their traditions, and so on. As a matter of fact, John Paul II, Pope John Paul II, was a great advocate of enculturation. When he went through the various nations, he took on and the symbols of that nation as a rich way of expressing the culture of that particular person and how Christianity is expressed there. So that this entire process is called enculturalization. And as a result of these enculturalization, we have different ways of expressing the Christian message, simply because we have different contexts, different cultures, different histories, different needs and ways of expressing it. And so this creates a great deal of diversity, and yet it offers a great deal of richness as gifts to the whole universal church. It's the way Jesus' message is articulated in a particular region has to kind of be built in the fertile soil of that region so that it articulates in the best way that is possible for that particular region and culture. Now, Pope Francis, a great advocate of enculturalization, and continues to move the church towards respecting regional and local variety and a decentralization of the church. The caution, however, in all of this is that we have to be careful not to fall into the trap that thinking that one way of expressing Catholicism is better than another. Rather, there's a richness and a diversity in the way the message is expressed in the various cultures and the various regional and local variety that we should foster and continue to see as a gift for the universal church. So I hope this has helped to explain just a bit of why Vatican II advocated regional and local variety, and I hope you will come back again to explore more Do You Know series questions as we continue to explore the principles of the Second Vatican Council. Thank you very much.